Are you tired of your water tasting nasty? Do you wonder, is your water really that clean coming from your city or local municipality? I mean, look at all the water outages and boil water advisories that have occurred over the last few years, and maybe in your community it's occurred so recently. That's why I partnered with Water Drop. When we first moved into our place, we realized our water was nasty, and we were tired of fighting with the refrigerator, gallon drum, jug, water filters. So that's why I have partnered with a company called Water Drop. Water Drop sells several under the sink filters that are easy to install just with it was a 10-minute installation. Also, they sell whole house systems, reverse osmosis, even sell little filters that go on your ice maker, your camper, or even an outdoor faucet. So go check them out on the website listed in the podcast link below. Use the code the All Hazards Prepper, again, the All Hazards Prepper, for a 10% discount on any product you order directly from their site using that link. Again, make sure to go check out Water Drop if you want clean water for your home and your family and those that you love.
Welcome back to the All Hazards Prepper Show, your go-to spot for all your disaster prep information and how to survive wild SHDF scenarios. Plus, we'll chat about the chaos of the world, throw in weather updates, and cover any topics the All Hazards Prepper has in his head this week. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform and join us on social media. Now, let's welcome your fearless leader and the brains behind the All Hazards Prepper, Blake.
Welcome back to the All Hazards Prepper Show. This is your host, Blake. Super glad that you have joined us this week on the All Hazards Prepper Show today. Very excited to have our guest, Wendell Adams. He is the founder of the Prepared Wanderer, who focuses on prepping and outdoor skills with his YouTube channel hitting just over 69,000 subscribers. That's been going for about 8 years. He currently resides in Ohio with his kids and grandkids. He has been in the search and rescue for 10 years with certifications in wilderness first aid, tracking, rope rescue, land navigation, and is also an avid hunter, fisherman, backpacker, and camping person. So super glad to have him on the show this week. Really like checking out. I saw him on YouTube. That's kind of how I found him, and then started looking at his other social media. Definitely focuses more on the skills within prepping, which I think are valuable. Everyone needs to know. So Wendell, just tell us, tell our viewers a little bit more about you and how you became a prepper.
Sure. Well, first of all, Blake, thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. Thanks for reaching out. I love discussing this stuff with people. I love getting the word out to people because I think it's such an important topic. And for me, getting started in this, I grew up in Iowa and always went hunting with my dad. So definitely the outdoors background's been there, but the whole prepping philosophy and mindset really, my eyes were opened when I joined search and rescue, and that was quite a while ago. I'm retired from that now, but I joined a volunteer search and rescue group, and I went through training and certification to do that. I also went through the CERT program and got my training through them. And of course, did a lot of FEMA courses and just learned a lot about disaster preparedness during that time. And that's kind of what piqued my interest. I saw a need for it, and then of course the whole prepping community and philosophy started becoming very popular. There were, of course, some TV shows that came out, and that kind of catapulted it to the forefront. And now everybody is aware of it, and they are into it. And I think Katrina, as far as a big natural disaster, really opened a lot of people's eyes to what could happen to you as an individual and how our government was not prepared and struggled to help. So that's kind of where I started.
Perfect. That's, yeah. I think that's a great story. Good. definitely something that I think a lot of people don't realize is, there's a lot of volunteer programs out there. If you are, wanting to help your community, that's how I got started. I was a volunteer fireman when I was 15, 16 years old, and I've done search and rescue as well
Hmm.
with that. And definitely, I think that's great to not only help your community, but betters yourself and be more prepared for disasters. Could you tell us maybe a time that you recall like a specific disaster or an event where your prepping kind of gave you that upper hand to what you were dealing with and kind of led you to be the better person during that disaster that was more prepared?
Well, like here in Ohio, um, we have a lot of tornadoes, and I've been through a number of power outages, and there was one that I recall. This was years ago that we were out without power for days and days. I mean, I think it was almost a week before power was restored, and that was a challenging event for the family. Just making sure we had food and clean water, and being able to do stuff at night. So you had to have alternate lighting sources. When that happened, that I was just getting into a lot of this stuff, so I had a few things, but I didn't have everything. I certainly didn't have the stuff that I have now. So that kind of fueled a little bit of just being better prepared. And then growing up in Iowa, my family had been through, and I've witnessed numerous tornadoes and some of the devastation that has. So that's always kind of, made me want to be better prepared.
Sure, that's great. That's great. Yeah, that's definitely. I think I was just seeing an article yesterday or today that actually talked about tornadoes and how they were how the line of that used to be the tornado alley up and down near Oklahoma and all of that have kind of moved farther east, and now places like Ohio, even where
Hmm.
I live in North Carolina, we're seeing increases in tornadoes for whatever reason that would be. So definitely an important disaster to prep for and have some things ready for. Talking about resources, what are some resources that you feel that every prepper should have on them or in their preps? Definitely, as someone that's does more of the outdoor skills and stuff, maybe talk about some of the prepping resources that one might have for focusing more maybe on the outdoor skills or something.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's obvious you have to address the basic survival needs that every human has, and that is it's food, water, air, and then of course shelter. So those things, if you don't have those things, you can't address those basic needs. You're going to struggle, and you could potentially die. So, every family needs to have a food resource. You need to have some backups. When you get just getting started, it's just canned goods. And then you start getting into more of the prepared, dehydrated or freeze dried meals, MREs, things like that. And then the next level is, of course, for families who are very prepared, where they're doing canning. You're drying things on your own, smoking meats, things like that. Of course, that's more elaborate. You need more resources to do that. Um, and then alternate power sources, I think, are super important. If you can have some kind of solar or battery backup or generator backup. I don't necessarily have anything that's gas powered because I don't live in an area that's, I don't live in a big house or a big piece of property. So I rely on battery backup, and then I have solar panels, portable solar panels that I can pull out and recharge batteries to run different things. And then as far as skills, I think the thing that I want to see people doing more is getting back to the old skills. And that's kind of stuff that I like to look at and read about and try to practice. Hunting, fishing, um, how to keep your house warm in the winter when you don't have power, if you had to, put a stove system in. These are all old skills that our grandparents, great grandparents relied on, and we're getting away from that nowadays. So I think that stuff is super important.
Good. Yeah, yeah. I think that definitely talking with other preppers in the community, I think a lot of us, I'm, someone that's relatively young and did not, grow up canning or doing anything like that. So it's kind
Right.
of unfortunately a lost trade, a lost skill. But I did watch my grandparents do it, and so I do see, I do know a little bit about it. But I definitely think getting back to some of those types of things. Just kind of off topic from our questions, but I know you post a lot about bushcraft and that type of stuff. Could you maybe explain to our viewers who don't know what that is? I know a little bit about it and everything, but can maybe explain about bushcraft and how that
Sure.
relates to prepping and some resources some basic people could go and do or have in terms of that.
Absolutely. So bushcraft, it's an old term. It's a very popular term in Europe, and I think it's used a lot in England, and became very popular um, with a lot of different survival instructors in England a while ago. But it's an old term that even predates that. It goes way back to when England was colonizing some of these, third world countries, and having their soldiers and people having skills to survive in the bush, hence the name bushcraft, right? But there's really nothing mysterious about it. All it really is are basic survival skills and skills to help you be more comfortable when you are out in the wilderness. So it's setting up tarps, building shelters, how to start a fire, how do you cook over a fire. That it's very different cooking over a fire as opposed to cooking over a modern stove. There's different techniques. So it's these primitive and ancient skill sets that you can utilize to make yourself be able to thrive and survive in the wilderness. That's kind of what bushcraft is. And the things that I like to do is to go out and practice these things, like starting fires in different primitive methods. You know, not always relying on modern things like a Bic lighter. That those are invaluable skills. And as a prepper, if we think what could potentially happen, where your home may be completely loss of power for a very long period of time, you may have to go back to these old skills, and you may have to be cooking your meals on a campfire in the back of your property. So how are you going to start a fire? How are you going to process wood? Do you know how to use an axe? Do you know how to use a saw? Can you fell a tree? Do you know how to start a fire without a lighter, because that resource is gone now? Maybe it's more of a primitive method. Um, all these types of skills can be utilized to help your family survive, and that's what I like to dabble in and practice and read about.
Perfect. Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. And again, it's kind of a lost skill unless you grew up outside or I was in. We lived outside whenever I was a kid, so we knew how to do that stuff. And in the Boy Scouts, I was taught
Yep.
that stuff. But a lot of people nowadays don't know how to start a fire, don't know how
Right.
to even split a piece of wood or something like that. And it's a lost skill. So everyone definitely needs to go. If you don't, have that skill set, go and look for the resources on go look on his page, the Prepare Wanderers page, and there's definitely some content out there for that. And then go and do it. Go camping one weekend and try to practice some of those skills if you don't have the ability to go outside and do it in your backyard. So it's a great habit or great tips there. Talking about some challenges that preppers face. What, in your opinion, what is one of the biggest challenges that preppers face in today's times?
Well, the thing that I see the most and it concerns me the most is that as a society we've moved away from rural society. So we are a very urban based society now. Back in my grandparents' time and great grandparents' time, a lot of people were farmers. They lived out in the country. Uh, they had a different mindset, a different skill set, and now predominantly people live in the city. Um, Even small towns are very urbanized, and very dependent on electricity, heat, food. We're all dependent on the big food system that we have in the United States. So to me is the biggest challenge, because when something happens, whatever this event is going to be, which we don't know what it's going to be, it could be a natural disaster, it could be war, it could be government unrest, or change. We have no clue what's going to happen, right? Um, and a lot of people are going to be stuck in cities with very little resources, no skills, and unfortunately, a lot of people are going to die very quickly, from disease, from starvation, from dehydration, and everybody is so dependent on the government and other entities to take care of them, that when all that stuff collapses, and it can collapse very quickly, a lot of people are going to perish, and that's to me is the biggest challenge. So I like to focus on things that are inexpensive and that can be done easily. You don't have to live off grid on a big piece of property with a farm to survive. You can do some of the stuff even in an apartment. You just have to, plan a little bit differently.
Perfect. Yep. Yeah, I think that's a good point there. That a lot of people today live in metropolitan cities, and they rely on the government or some private entity for everything, and don't know the outside world, don't know where they would get a meal if they had to, something like that. So great points there. I think that is definitely one of the biggest challenges that I've seen too, as for preppers is today. Talking about habits of preppers, what are something that you do? Some habits on a daily basis that you do to better prepare yourself. For that, just maybe that everyday type of disaster, or everyday type of incident, or something like that.
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think there's a few skills that people need to practice. I think the first skill is observation. We live in a society where people are very unobservant. They don't pay attention to what's going on around them. They have their faces in their phones constantly. You need to be paying attention at all times when you're out. When I'm out pumping gas, or I'm out at dinner with my family, I am constantly scanning and looking and observing what other people are doing and what things are happening, because that's really the first line of defense. You never know when something bad is going to happen, and you need to be prepared as a man to take care of that situation, protect yourself, protect your family, or just get them out of harm's way. So that's the first thing. Be observant, look around, see what's happening, have situational awareness. The other thing I think is important is having the right mental attitude, and that is a positive mental attitude at all times. Even in adverse conditions or bad situations, you should be positive. You should look for the silver lining. You should be upbeat. You shouldn't be negative. You shouldn't get angry. Um, you need to keep your emotions under control. These are kind of basic life skills that a lot of men and other people, and women too, have lost sight of, and you need to have those. Are like the foundations. You need to have those things. So being positive, and then as far from actually being prepared, it's just having stuff with you when you go places. We're traveling all the time. My family, we drive quite a bit to a lot of different events for school and work. So having things in my vehicle, having water, having food, having a good sturdy pair of shoes on my feet, not wearing sandals when I go out shopping, things like that. Because when stuff happens, I need to be able to react and be ready for that event.
Perfect. Those are some great habits. Something that The big topic you hit there is situational awareness. That was something I covered early on whenever I started doing this, and
Hmm.
that is something that like you said, people today they have no clue what's going on around them. They're not observant. Talk about a restaurant. I've trained my wife that I have to sit where I see that door because I got to see what's coming in, and I got to see around me or put my back against the wall and be able to see what's
Hmm.
against me. So I think that's just something that just a basic skill there, or a basic habit that anyone can develop. Talking about prepping in your life, how do you balance being a prepper with your personal and life career in your careers? You hinted there that not to live in the doom and gloom, I guess, and try to have a positive outlook, which is hard to do when prepping. But I
Hmm.
always tell my wife, she always is a worrier. That I'm prepping so that way I don't have to worry and I don't have to be constantly caught up in whatever's going on. So maybe talk about how you balance being a prepper, with that personal life and careers and everything.
Yeah, well, I have an advantage over a lot of people because of my YouTube channel, and that has opened up a lot of doors for me. I have a lot of contact with different companies. I'm always testing different products, so I have exposure to this stuff, and I have the ability to have get things sent to me so I can try them out. So from that standpoint, it's a little bit different for me than like just people who don't have that ability or that kind of outlet. Um, so it's not something I think about a lot. I don't even necessarily call myself a prepper. A lot of people, are really hung up on terms. I don't think about it that way. To me, it's become very ingrained and natural in my life that, oh, we're gonna, let's buy extra batteries and have those, put away somewhere, and let's test them. Let's rotate through food. Let's buy a little extra canned goods this month because we're running low on some things. Let's have stuff stored in watertight containers in the basement, extra food, things like that. Those are things that I'm not consciously doing all the time. They just kind of happen because it's just a habit that I've gotten into. Um, we don't live off grid, even though that's definitely a goal, is to have a larger piece of property, not be so dependent on things. But even in our little town we live in our small house, we have stuff squirreled away and ready to go. And I try to have things ready for myself, but also for my family in case they're not thinking about it because they probably don't think about it as much as I do. But just having stuff ready for everyone.
Perfect. Yeah, great habits there that everyone should definitely live by. Talking about some of the resources and things, and I think you hinted on one thing there that you kind of want some larger property to be more self sufficient on. But what is kind of your bucket list, prepper thing that you want to do, buy, or develop in the future?
Yeah, so the bucket list is to get onto a rural piece of property, be able to have a much larger garden. Right now we do some small container gardening um, on our at our house, but I would like to have a larger property where I'm actually having a crop, and then getting into the ability to can and preserve that, and then also have some animals, goats, chickens, maybe even some pigs and cattle. But that's down the road. That's on the bucket list, and it's something we're working towards right now.
Perfect. Yeah, I definitely think that a lot of preppers have that same mentality and wants, and definitely something I want to do in the future as well.
Yep.
Kind of wrapping up here, tell our viewers, what's one thing that you think everyone should know about prepping, that you've seen in your time, doing this. You've had a YouTube channel for quite some time, so what's just one thing that everyone should know about prepping?
The one thing that everybody needs to know is that there are no limits. Nothing should hold you back from doing what you want to do. The only thing that holds you back is yourself. So if you want to learn a certain skill, there are tons of resources nowadays. Things have changed so much. There's so much information out there, podcasts, videos, books, classes, online and offline. You can go to all kinds of different events nowadays and learn from other people. So if you want to learn something, you just need to put some effort into it. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yep, definitely a good point there. The information today is unlimited. You can go, anywhere and start things and look and learn things as well. So I definitely think that is a great point. And prepping is not something hard to do. It's pretty easy just to start out and do. So great points there. Kind of wrapping up. Tell our viewers where they can go find you on social media. I know we mentioned the YouTube channel, but maybe
Yep.
talk about your platforms.
Sure. So the first and foremost is Prepared Wanderer on YouTube. So it's the Prepared Wanderer on YouTube. That channel, I try to put out at least one video a week. And I've been doing it for about 8 years now. Like you mentioned, we have a little over 69,000 viewers. We went over 10 million views, I think, lifetime or something like that recently. So there's a lot of information on there. Also, if you are on Facebook, look up Prepared Wanderer Facebook group. That's 27,000.2 members on that group. That's a great resource. A lot of people are posting stuff on there as well as I am. I'm on Instagram, Prepared Wanderer, and then preparedwanderer.com is my website, and that just has some articles and also links to all the different things that I do. That's a kind of a hub of all my stuff.
Perfect. Yeah, definitely great. I didn't know you were on the Facebook group, so I just joined that group there. But
Good.
super glad that you came on today. I think today's episode and the week we're going to show this, we're going to kind of focus on some more outdoor skills. So this is a great episode and show to kind of kick that off. So super glad that you were able to join us today. Everyone, make sure that you continue to follow the All Hazards Prepper on our social media channels and subscribing to the podcast wherever you're listening. Super glad that we had the Prepare Wanderer on today, and we'll definitely try to get him back on at some point. Everyone, stay safe out there. The All Hazard Prepper out.